Welcome to CityWise. I'm your host, Tiana Stevens. CityWise is produced by the City of Rochester to shine a spotlight on city living at its best. Well, their mission is to promote lifelong learning, leadership, and civic engagement in Rochester, and one of their signature events aimed at doing just that is right around the corner. We're talking about the 2018 Rose Cotillion Debutante Ball. Essie Calhoun-McDavid is the corporate sponsorship chair of the Cotillion. She's also a board member of the Rochester 20 Pearls Foundation. Thank you so much for coming on today, Essie.
Thank you, Tiana. Thanks for inviting us, and we're just thrilled to have this opportunity to talk about our upcoming program.
Yeah, it's very exciting. So tell me about the principal goals of Alpha Kappa Alpha.
Well, Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority is a sorority of over 200,000 women, and it's an international organization, and our principal goals are focused on service to all mankind.
Okay.
And so you'll find our chapters around the country and where we're located outside of the U.S., looking at what are the needs of the community and how might we be of service to the community. So, you know, when people think of sororities, they tend to think of undergraduates, but our graduate chapters are very active, and our goal is to continue to provide service and to be of benefit to those in our community.
Right. So tell us about the Rochester chapter.
The chapter here was first chartered in 1946, and then in 1948, the chapter went active. So we're celebrating 70 years of service to the Rochester community.
That is so wonderful. Now tell us about the Rochester 20 Pearls Foundation. What is that?
Well, the Rochester 20 Pearls Foundation is actually a 501c3 nonprofit organization. It is a foundation, and it is the fundraising arm that has been established by the chapter, because one of the things we know is that we can give our time and we can give our talent, but we also need to be able to raise funds in order to do the type of service that we'd like to do in the community. And so we started this foundation, and the foundation is focused on how can it enable the chapter to be of service to the community. And so for any of our service programs that require funding, that's what the foundation is focused on. And it includes scholarships, even though it's not just scholarships.
Wonderful.
Through the chapter initially, and then after we got our foundation, we have given over $150,000 since 2000 to students in the Rochester community.
That's excellent. And now we're coming up on the 2018 Rose Cotillion Debutante Ball. Tell us about that.
Well, the Debutante Ball it's a combination of a development program and a fundraiser for us. And one of the things I can say, and which is really important to understand, because when you think of a cotillion, those who are familiar with that, you know, you think in terms of young ladies being introduced to society and having this wonderful, beautiful night. And that's important, and that's what we will be doing for our girls. But our vision for what we want to do is to develop these girls also, to further develop them. So we start with the girls in the fall, and they go through an 8-month program, and it's a development program. So some of the things we focus on are etiquette, sales, we focus on nutrition, we focus on college prep. We focus on the STEM disciplines. We want the girls to understand what are some of the disciplines that are out there that they can get engaged in. So we're involved with them once a month for 2 hours on a Saturday, and we take them through these experiences. Now, the other thing that we do is we think, because we are a service organization, what we'd like to instill in them is the importance of giving back. So one of the things that they do also is identify a community service project, and then they go out and work together as a team to complete this community service project.
That's excellent. So a lot of stuff happens before we even get to the cotillion.
Before we get
behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. We also do something that I think is very impressive. Just recently we had what we call a rites of passage. And that gives us an opportunity to know more about the girls. And so the parents are invited and friends are invited. And they come in and we take them through a ritual where we're talking to them and instilling in them the importance of moving into womanhood, what it means to be a young woman that's moving from childhood into womanhood. And we learn more about them too. We asked them this time around, what is a word that would describe you? And so they had to come up with a word that would describe them, and then they had to come up with a symbol for that word, and they present that to the audience. They have an opportunity also to talk to us about talents and things that they're interested in doing. But it is a beautiful, very moving ceremony. So it's a very involved process, and we just look to instill in these women as much as we can in that period of time.
Right. How do you choose? I mean, out of all the wonderful, talented young ladies in Rochester, how do you choose who gets to participate?
Well, the beginning of the process is that we advertise that we're going to have a cotillion. We make known what our criteria is. There's a grade point average that's required in this. They have to have a letter of recommendation from a counselor from their school, and they have to have another letter of recommendation, which can come from someone in the community or someone in their church. But this is about attesting to their character and who they are. Once this is received with their application, there's an interview process. So there's a team from the sorority that interviews them, and then we select the young women who will participate in the program.
Right. You must have a lot of success stories of young women who have come through the program. I know we've got one at City Hall, Morgan Barron, who is now working in the mayor's office, by the way. Tell us about some of the girls that you've worked with through the years.
Well, I'm new to the program to some extent, so I don't know all of the girls, but I get surprised from time to time when someone says to me, yes, I was a debutante also. And so I can say we have a high success rate in terms of these young women who've gone on to college, and a number of them who've come back to our community. I'm a member of another organization, and one of the members of the organization who just came in, her mother is currently our president, and so at our last meeting, I got up to talk about and announce the cotillion and to get support for the cotillion, and she said, I'm a debutante. Well, she's also an officer in that organization, and she's an attorney who's returned to this community to work. So we have a number of young women who are very successful, who are out there, and some of our own members who have, were debutantes when they were in high school and joined the sorority and are now back with us in the graduate chapter.
That's wonderful. What do the young ladies say to you after this whole experience is over? What do they tell you about?
Well, one of the things that I've seen is that they don't actually know what to expect most of the time, even though someone tries to tell them. So my experience is that this has turned out to be a lot more beneficial and a much greater program than they expected. I don't think that from the standpoint of the workshops, in our 2015 cotillion, one of the workshops was nutrition and fitness, and we brought someone in who was taking them through exercises. And I think the experience of getting to know the other girls who participate in the program, and I think there's nothing like that night. I will say that I was a debutante many years ago in another city, and you never forget that night. You do feel very, very special. You feel like a queen.
Right.
You're in your ball gown. You're being recognized by all of these people. You get this special dance with your dad or some member of your family who's escorting you, and you just feel like a princess.
Yeah.
And there's no other experience that's quite like this experience, I believe. Not even your prom.
Yeah, it's much bigger than a prom.
Yes.
What's the theme for this year?
Diamonds and pearls evolving into excellence.
What is your hope, for these young women as they continue, into college and throughout their adulthood?
Well, let me begin by saying this is a very appropriate theme. These young women are like diamonds in the rough, some of them not so rough. And they sparkle like pearls. And so my hope for them is that they will be as excellent as we can see that they have the potential to be now, and that they will even exceed that we will see them doing great things as they move along. And I don't think that's too much to hope for when we see the young women that we have and what happens as they go through this experience.
We were joking earlier that you're kind of unretired. You wear so many hats, Essie, and you're involved in so many good works in Rochester. What keeps you motivated to do this? Why do you do it?
Well, you know, that's a really good question. But one of the things I would say is so many people have poured so much into me. And one of the things that was important to me, especially as I moved into the community role at Kodak, was to be able to make a difference. And that's still important to me, is to be able to make a difference. And so I believe that as long as I'm alive and I am capable and able, then I don't want to say I owe a debt, but I think it's something that God expects of me. He gives me time, He gives me talent, He gives me resources. And it's also very inspirational for me to be involved, to be engaged, and to see other young people coming along and to see the difference that we can make in the lives of others.
It is. Final question, how can the community get involved? Can people come to the ball?
People can come to the ball.
Okay.
They can purchase tickets through our debutantes.
Okay.
They can purchase tickets through the Rochester 20 Pearls Foundation.
Excellent.
So we are looking for people to come to the ball. Another way that individuals can become involved is through sponsorships. I want to thank our sponsors.
Okay.
What we've had in our 2015 Cotillion, I think was the first time we had external sponsors. And we have about 10 companies that have stepped up to support this. Bergman Associates, Canon Industries, Complimar, Key Bank, M&T Bank, Monroe Community College, Nazareth College, Rochester Red Wings, the RIT Office of Diversity and Inclusion, Rochester Area Community Foundation, and Wegmans. And I personally, being the chair of the Corporate Sponsorship Committee, would like to thank them for trusting us and believing in us and understanding how important this work is that we do with this young women. So
it is. Well,
that's another way that you can be involved.
Wonderful, Essie. Thank you so much for coming on today. For more information on the Rose Cotillion Debutante Ball, call 585-234-1908. You can also send an email to 2018rosecotillion@gmail.com.